you have leaders and you have shepherds. And there a significant difference between a leader and a shepherd. Now, when we talk about both of them being good individuals, a good leader and a good shepherd. So they both are concerned about the people, the leader concerned about the people who lead, and the shepherd concerned about, the people under his authority or the things under his authority. The difference is that if you say, well, which one I'd rather be, if you want to be a leader and be a good leader, and it's not wrong wanting to be a leader. Matter of fact, so I don't want people to say, well, I don't want to be a leader, like it's a bad thing. It's just, you might say, well, if you're going to make a choice between being a good leader or a good shepherd, which role would you pursue? And normally, when you look at the jobs and what they actually do, a leader actually set the pace and the tone, and he showed by example, and so he leading people along a certain course. And I'm talking about a good leader. I'm not talking about a bad leader. And a shepherd also sets a tone, but the difference is that the leader usually always remain up front. And when the leader tends to always remain up front, then some people may not be able to keep up with the leader. So hence, you will have some stragglers or some people that just fall out. Not that the leader doesn't care, it's just that his position of pursuing an example keeps him up front. Whereas a shepherd, he may be up front, but most of the times he's towards the rear of those people or the things he that's under his authority and under his care, rather, should say, under his care. And he might even be in the middle. So therefore, the shepherd could more, if you're weak or lagging, could be readily able to grab you in to the fold and also direct you from behind. So the shepherd also has developed a certain confidence in the people or those things that's under his care. He develops a certain confidence that you are going in the right direction. But if not, he could pull you back in the fold because he's up his position of where he's at. Hence, you read about our patriots, all of them were shepherds. The occupation Yosha told them that said, tell the Pharaoh, shepherds. Also, you read about Moses' background, being a shepherd. And then the great psalm that everybody say, the Lord is my shepherd and I shall not want. Not so much the Lord is my leader, not so much the Lord is my God, but the Lord is my shepherd. And when you look at that psalm, you see all the precarious positions and places that David are in. And yet he said, I shall have no fear. All right. So I just want to bring out those different points here because it takes on a particular face as we go further on in our history and our journey. Also, the most underappreciated job, and I'm just saying this, leading up to Bishallah, the most unappreciative job in the nation, you got, in the book, is that of a prophet. That's the most unappreciative job, because most of the times a prophet is telling us what we're doing wrong. Also, a prophet doesn't get paid for his job. And also, sometimes more often than not, they'd rather see the prophet going than coming. And that's a prophet, and we're talking about basically a good prophet. But yet, woe to a nation that doesn't have a prophet, or where prophets come to them. So I just brought those three different classification of things there, of people and job descriptions. All right, so now, as we move on into Bishop, like I said, last week was considered Shabbat song, and what's unique is that that's the first time you're going to hear about people actually doing any kind of singing, and we'll get to that in a moment. But I'm gonna highlight and go through this here kind of briefly, as much as possible. Hopefully, I'll cover some stuff that's that we could, really carry us on into this Shabbat that comes in this evening. All right, so in the Bishop starts, like I said, Exodus to the 13th chapter, the 17th verse, and it goes to the 17, 16.
We're in the book of Exodus, chapter 13, verse 17. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
And it came to pass when Pharaoh had let the people go, that God led them not by the way of the land of the Philistines, although that was near. For God said, lest peradventure the people repent when they see war, and they return to Egypt. But God led the people about by the way of the wilderness by the Red Sea, and the children of Israel went up armed out of the land of Egypt.
All right, I'm going to stop right there just for a minute. There's some interesting things here. It said he didn't want to go by the way of the Philistines. A lot of different, viewpoints on that particular verse. But one thing for sure, the Creator don't have to do guesswork. The Creator knows. So it said, lest the people see war. Not that they even in the fight, they would go back. Now, sometimes we say, well, okay, we know God, the Creator know our heart. And everybody is, is not going to turn around and go back. But a majority might turn around and go back. You're going to have some people in the breach. They're going to say, I'm going to stand and hold on. But when we look at it in this area here, and you say, well, why would the Creator say that in the first place? That let's receive all, and He's with us. Mind you, the Creator is with us, and yet we see in war, we will go back into captivity. Well, when you go to the book of Chronicles, those that go, later, I'm not going there now, and you go in the book of Chronicles, First Chronicles, in the 7th chapter, the 20th verse, you will find out that some people from the tribe of Ephraim have broke out to come back into the land early, in the land of Philistines. One of the major cities to talk about is Gath. Gath later on in the history is actually where Goliath is from, where he was the champion at. And those people from the tribe of Ephraim that decided to come back to the Holy Land earlier, before this period of Exodus, they were slain. And when we check the names of those individuals, according to the head prince of the tribe of Ephraim that's talked about at the dedication of the temple, at the dedication of the tabernacle, we know those names are unique, and it's the same names. So when you get a chance, and you might want to just go over that and look at the 7th chapter of First Chronicles, around the 20th verse, to basically around the 28th verse, and then go back and see if we could make some comparisons for this particular statement, because that's a really unique statement when the Creator is with us and we still want to go back into slavery. And then there's other viewpoints that had we took the short route through there and didn't go back, then some miracles we might not experience. So we know that's one of the issues there. So now we know that there's a couple more of verses in this particular poet, in the 19th verse.
Verse 19, and Moses took the bones of Joseph with him, for he had straitly sworn the children of Israel, saying, God will surely remember you, and ye shall carry up my bones away hence with you.
Okay, hold right there. Now, everybody else busy getting the gold, the silver, and the silver, the gold, and the raiment. But no one remember hardly the oath that Joseph told the children of Israel to swear by and do. So hence, while everybody else getting gold, the most underpaid individual, which is Moshe Rabbeinu, Moshe Hanabi, he's bringing somebody's body up. So it meant more to him to keep the promise of the nation than him trying to gain wealth in the nation. So hence, his role as a meek individual, and also obligating himself on behalf of the nation to do what was obligated by the nation to Joseph, who helped provide for them. All right, so we're going to just go. We know automatically that they wind up being caught up by the the Egyptians caught up with him, Pharaoh and all the people caught up with him, and it was by the Yam Suf. The Yam Suf, even though most books translate it as the Red Sea, is actually a sea of reeds. And they still was in the land of Egypt, they departed. So when they say they departed out of Egypt, but yet we read when they're still in Egypt, how we rationalize that is that in our minds, we're going for good, not returning. And that's why hence you will read about they departed or left, leaving Egypt. But also was thrust out. There's two ways to look at when the death of the firstborn hit Pharaoh. And I spoke on that last time I spoke about the death of the firstborn, but I might want to just touch on it just for a moment. That whether it was a male or female in the death of the firstborn, the strike of the firstborn, everybody has some death in the house. Because some people might just have females, and then some people have males. But when you decimate the first of any particular people, you really did a serious decimation of that people, and they'll never be as great as they possibly could be from that point on. Now, but when it comes to the redemption, it's only dealing with a male firstborn, and the mother determines whether this male is a firstborn, because the first come from the womb, first child to come from the womb, and if it's a male, that's the one that's subject to redemption, and that come in later for a different role. And one of the things about redemption is that when you redeem your child, and I just speak on that just for a moment since I mentioned it, is that when you redeem your child, you saying to the Creator that I could raise him in a godly fashion without him being neglected and being raised by somebody else in a godly fashion. And that say that if I'm gonna raise him in a godly fashion, that means that I'm gonna have to live a godly fashion life. So hence redemption is a great honor and not just a money-making thing for the Levitical order. And it's not just a money-making thing. It's the honor of saying, I don't need somebody else to raise my child, to raise him up in a godly way of life. I will take that responsibility because he's my responsibility from the beginning. So therefore, I'm going to pay to show you how much I'm committed. So when we think of redemption like that, it's an honor. And that's only with the males in that case. And as we move a little bit further here, we read about that they're still in the land of Egypt at this particular time. And Pharaoh and them caught up with them. All right. And then we're going to pick up at the ninth verse of the 14th chapter, just a little bit.
Chapter 14, verse 9. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
And the Egyptians pursued after them all the horses and chariots of Pharaoh and his horsemen and his army, and overtook them encamping by the sea beside the Pihahirot in front of Baal-Zephon. And when Pharaoh drew nigh, the children of Israel lifted up their eyes, and behold, the Egyptians were marching after them, and they were sore afraid, and the children of Israel cried out unto Yehovah. And they said unto Moses,
stop right there.
Mm-hmm.
When they say we cry out, we ain't just boo-hoo. That's prayer. You know, that's the way we're crying out. We're crying out with words of prayer, anxiety, you know,
Right.
Not just shedding tears, because people can shed tears and pout, but what you say, and it come deep from your soul. But then what's unique on the next verse?
Verse 11, and they said unto Moses, because there was no graves in Egypt, hast thou taken us away to die in the wilderness? Wherefore hast thou dealt thus with us to bring us forth out of Egypt?
Okay, now we're going to skip on down, and we're going to skip on down to the 13th verse.
Verse 13, and it reads, and Moses said unto the people, fear ye not, stand still, and see the salvation of Yehovah, which he will work for you today. For whereas ye have seen the Egyptians today, ye shall see them again no more forever.
Keep going.
And Yehovah will fight for you, and ye shall hold your peace.
All right, 15th verse.
And Yehovah said unto Moses, wherefore criest thou unto me? Speak unto the children of Israel that they go forward.
All right, now we're going to stop right there. Now, what's important is that the Creator never told the people not to cry, and they cried to the Lord. Moses telling them to be silent, told them to stop, not to cry, and encouraging them, and yet he decided to do the same thing, which is, you know, so he feeling their pain, but sometimes you can encourage somebody, and yet while you're encouraging them, you can have a slight bit of doubt within yourself. Give them all the pep talk, and you say, I hope this work out. So, and he started to cry to the Lord, but the Creator tell him, why are you crying? He never told the people why they're crying, but why are you crying? Why are you trying to look for help? Why are you talking to me now? And it's a time to pray, and it's a time that, and also while you pray, you don't sit there and do anything. You act upon it. He told the people to move forward. Move forward means to go into the sea. All right, into that Yam Suf. And it's a lot of different midrashim, but for the sake of time, and commentaries on this point, for the sake of time, I'm just going to pass by that particular area there. But it's a lot going on, just to discuss on that particular point. But he told him to go forward, and then he lift up his rod, and then we know the water's parted. So we know when the water's parted, but what is unique, which we're going to pick up now in 22nd verse of that same chapter, the 14th
verse
chapter.
22, verse 22 of the 14th chapter reads, and the children of Israel went into the midst of the sea upon the dry ground, and the waters were a wall unto them on their right hand and on their left. And the Egyptians pursued and went in after them into the midst of the sea, all Pharaoh's horses with chariots and his horsemen. And it came to pass in the morning watch that Yehovah looked forth upon the hosts of the Egyptians through the pillar of fire and of cloud, and discomfited the hosts of the Egyptians. And he took off their chariot wheels and made them to drive heavily, so that the Egyptians said, let us flee from the face of Israel, for Yehovah fighteth for them against the Egyptians.
All right there.
Mm-hmm.
All right. we're gonna stop there, but there's a lot of things, and we might miss if we don't pick up the Hebrew. But the chariot wheels, usually talking about one wheel in the singular. Not all the wheels at one time. For each chariot, even though the chariot, would normally have just two wheels, but one wheel off make it lopsided, make you still think you got hope. But it says in the midst of the sea. Now, it's a lot of controversy, and a lot of times we have big discussions on this here. Is that it never said in this particular portion of the book that Israel, and I'm talking about in the language of the book itself, in the Hebrew language, that they ever crossed the Yam Suf. They went into the midst of the Yam Suf, and the Egyptians went into the midst of the Yam Suf, but it never said that they actually crossed it. What it would show is like a Y U-turn, and as we get to it later on, I'm just speaking ahead just to save some time. But when you get a chance to look at the details in it, nowhere it said they ever actually cross it, the Yam Suf, but some books would translate when they came across the Red Sea, or the Yam Suf. But it's and most books are just talking about in the midst of the sea and dry ground, and that's it. And there was a wall on both sides. So, however, if you can imagine walls on both sides, then you should be able to imagine, some other things about the U-turn as well, a U-turn as well. But what shocks me is that how proud and pompous the pursuers are, because believe me, if I see you run out there in the midst of a sea and water piled up on both sides, I'm gonna say, you got away. I'm gonna say you got away. I'm not gonna try to roll up in there, or you chasing you, no matter what you did to me, because I don't know how long this thing gonna last. This is the strange phenomenon. That shows that they had such a disregard for the very element, of what was going on, until the Creator looked out to them. And another unique thing is that the same cloud, the pillar of cloud, was at night light for the Israelites, and a darkness for the Egyptians. Hence, we refer to that 7-day darkness, whatever the case is, But that is unique, that the same cloud was able to do two things at one time, and as a polar opposite. But as we go further into this thing, I just want to I'm gonna be brief in this particular area here, because I'm sure a lot of people heard it last week, but there's a lot of discussions could be made on this whole event here as well. But what is really unique in this area here is that when the Egyptians go out there, they finally acknowledge that the hand of God is actually the one that's fighting against them, that the Creator is fighting for them. So you wonder what they thought about when the Egyptians said during the third plague, after the third plague, the Egyptians magicians said, "This is the finger of God." Pharaoh paid that no mind. But now, 7 plagues later, the death of the firstborn, and you let them go, but then you had to change your heart. And then you go pursue after them. And, a pillar of darkness keep you from catching up with them. Then after that moves away, and you see them going into the midst of a sea with water banked up on both sides. You still going to come after them? Until, I don't know what vision they actually saw. There's a lot of discussion on it. I don't know what vision they actually saw. But one of the things that's really unique is that they realized it was the Creator. You know, and every time I hear about that particular portion, I think about Moshe after the sin of the golden calf when he asked for to see God's glory, and this is something I always think about when I get to this portion in history in our history of the Exodus, is that they must have actually seen more than Moshe did at that particular time, you know, in that area. For them said they realized that the Creator is actually fighting for them, and they seen the Creator Himself. But there's a lot of discussions could be held on that area, where because Moshe, the Creator said, "No man should see my face and live." And what the Egyptians saw, we could just talk forever concerning that, but all we'd be doing is just speculating, pretty much. But we'll go further into this here, and let's go a little bit further in this particular chapter, the 26th.
Verse 26.
Yes.
And Yehudah said unto Moses, stretch out thy hand over the sea, that the waters may come back upon the Egyptians, upon their chariots, and upon their horsemen.
Uh-huh.
And Moses stretched forth his hand over the sea, and the sea returned to its strength when the morning appeared, and the Egyptians fled against it. And Yehudah overthrew the Egyptians in the midst of the sea.
Mm.
And the waters returned and covered the chariots and the horsemen, even all the hosts of Pharaoh, and went in after them in the sea, and there remained not so much as one of them. But the children of Israel walked upon dry land in the midst of the sea, and the waters were a wall unto them on their right hand and on their left. Thus Yehudah saved Yisrael that day out of the hand of the Egyptians, and Israel saw the Egyptians dead upon the seashore.
We're going to stop it there before we finish the 31st verse. All right. And you're still getting about the midst of the sea. That's it. In the middle of the sea, what's going on. And but after all the Israelites made it through, that's when Moshe was able to, have it, stretch his hand forth and do what he had to do for the waters to come back. But what I like to bring out a particular point that's unique. It's two several thoughts, but I'm just going to use two thoughts on. When we read this particular portion in scriptures carefully and go over it, and we don't actually get a clear cut vision or picture that actually Pharaoh himself drowned in the Yam Suf. All right. We read about it in other parts of the book, like in Psalms and stuff like that, in different versions. We read that, but I'm talking about from the actual event that's supposed to have been here at this particular time, right here in this particular portion of Beth Shalach, But I have a friend of mine, a really good friend, Earl Repellier. He's actually a real good Egyptian historian and everything like that. And he said that most of the pharaohs and stuff like that, there's one particular pharaoh, but the name escapes me at the time, that who has no tomb, who was a pharaoh, and he supposed to be the pharaoh at the time that got drowned in the Yam Suf. And hence he's I forget what dynasty it was, but it's around the same time that that Israelites supposed to have made the exodus from there, and that as he's the only pharaoh out of all the remains. He had the pharaohs before him, the pharaohs behind him, but this one particular pharaoh, his remains they don't have, as and they say that was the pharaoh of the time of the crossing, departure of Egypt at that particular time. So maybe some people might want to check into that for references, but I'll give my friend Earl Repellier a lot of respect, because I know his background says he used to be a tour guide for the Museum of Natural History, and plus that was his forte, and we worked on jobs together for years. So in very respected scholarship. So you might want might want to look into it and see. Like I said, that's his forte. That's not my forte. All right, but I want to bring out this 31st verse.
31st verse reads, and Israel saw the great work which Yehudah did upon the Egyptians, And the people feared Yahweh, and they believed in Yahweh and in his servant Moses.
Okay, now that's the belief system of Israelites, all right, that they have just from that alone. But what was amazing, and what sometimes we might overlook, is that the Yom Su party was not the impressive miracle, though it was impressive in itself. You know what I mean? It wasn't an impressive miracle, but the impression, the impressive, what was impressed the people of Israel was that the Creator actually fought for them and did that for them, and that's unique, because, like I said, not only we know the history, we find out their deities actually fought for them, but did certain things on their behalf directly for them that they can describe. And that's why they say they fear and believe in the Creator and stand in awe of him. Not, and so when you use the term fear, yeah, it's like awe, profound reverent respect for an individual. And the seed standing up is impressive, but not as impressive as the one that did it. And that's what the people looked at, the one that did it. And his servant, Moshe, they believe in him. All right, now we're going to go into what the Shabbat was called, and now this sometimes was called a Shabbat Shirah, and sometimes this particular portion in the book of Exodus, the 15th chapter, is referred to as Shirat Hayam or Az Yashir. Shirat Hayam, it just means the song of, the song of the sea, and Az Yashir is from the first line. Then, he sang. Then Moshe sang. All right, we're just going to read a few things in here, and not a lot, just a few things. All right.
Book of Exodus, chapter 15, verse 1. Then sang Moses and the children of Israel this song unto Yahweh, and spoke, saying, I will sing unto Yahweh, for he is highly exalted. The horse and his rider have he thrown into the sea. Yahweh is my strength and song, and he has become my salvation. This is my God, and I will glorify him, my father's God, and I will exalt him.
Okay.
Yahweh is a man of war. Yahweh is his name. Pharaoh's.
Okay. All right, that's good. All right. All right. The Pharaoh chariots and his horse, have he, cast into the sea, and like I say, even in the song, when I point out about the Pharaoh thing, like I say, clear cut, and I just want to focus on that just for a moment. Everything belonged to Pharaoh, but not necessarily, because Pharaoh ready his chariot, but all the chariots belonged to him. He got servants. He was in such a hurry to catch up with us that he didn't, and show and motivate the people that he ready his own chariot. But one of the things like to look at, and making comparison with the psalm, and most people that study or read go to make a aliyah on Shabbat, or look into a scroll, or sometime in a tikkun, or sometime if you got a Hebrew text, you notice the style of the writing in this particular portion of the book of the psalm. It got margins on both sides, a lot of space between the words, which normally is not in a tikkun, or not normally in a scroll. Scroll that you read out in the synagogue, which is tikkun, helps you prepare for that, which means improvement. Tikkun means improve or repair. That when we look at that, level there, it looks like bricks, like a body building a brick into a wall, and it has a unique melody to it. They have what they call in rabbinic and Hebrew literature, a thing called trope. Trope is like little markers that you would see in some prayer books, that you would see in some of the scrolls. When the people look at a scroll and read, we know about the regular vowel system that exists. Most of them are the Tiberian ones that's from underneath. But the trope is different. The way you will read a word and just read it out with the vowels and pronounce the word with the vowel system is different than if you would go ahead and read it with the trope. A trope is like a chant and a melody. More people could, and more people could chime in on that, as opposed to everybody reading together. It's almost like say we could sing together, but we can't talk together. So the actual trope and the markings, and it might be, something worth looking into. I'm not that good in it myself personally. I just, know about the history of it, and pretty much, I know it's about maybe 28 different tropes that they use. But normally guys that's a cantor or a guy by supposed to know the tropes. Now, normally when you read the rest of the Sidra, you have a different melody except when you get to this particular song. This song has its own unique melody with the particular tropes. Now, the markers and tropes are actually older than the bass clips, treble clips, and the musical notes that we see today. The tropes there is older than that. Some dated back, 9th century, something like that there, CE, but some say it's even much further than that. But what's unique is that normally the Torah and the Sidra has something in common. And in the Torah, you got the Song of Deborah. All right. And here, then Moses sang this song and the children of Israel. So the Torah talks about giving credit to different individuals. Deborah get her little credit in there. Barak get his credit in there. Yael get her credit in there. And certain tribes, Zebulon would get their credits, and other tribes that get condemned within it. And this song here, Moses don't get credit. Only one get credit is the creator of heaven and earth in this particular song. So Moses is not taking any kind of credit for what went down. And that, not only that, but and what's unique in this song is that no one personally is condemned. It's the good over evil. And we could say, well, we know who was the ones that got killed and drowned and everything like that and slaughtered. But it was about good over evil in this particular song. Also, this song is part of a daily prayer for anybody that follows a particular a traditional prayer every morning, Shachrit morning services. So every morning services, this particular song is always in every prayer book and part of the morning prayers. And not only that you have the acronym. We spoke a while back about the Maccabees. The first time you read this thing about Mi Kamoka Be'elim Adonai, all right, that's written right here in this song. That's the first time that expression is actually used right here in the song here. And then it's always debate about how the song is actually sung. When Moses started off, say do all the words, and the people just have a one-liner, and I was singing to the Lord, or Moses say it and then they repeat what he say, or they all miraculously, when Moses started off and set it off, then everybody else just chimed in. And then later on you read about unique thing about Miriam leading the women in this particular chapter. And she leads the women in song and dance, but she has a timbrel. The first time you read about percussion being used in a service, in a worship service, in a praise service. And song, unlike scriptures, when we study this book, we go over this book yearly, over and over again. And hopefully we gain more knowledge and insight as we go over the book more and more again. Sometimes we might get bored with this section and we'll go to something else. But song, music itself, you know, no matter how old a song is, or a melody is, if you like it, you're gonna have the beat. You'll play it over and over again, and you know all the lyrics, the next word, the ending, the middle. You can say, I can name that tune, and one verse or something like that. You know, so the song itself gladdens the soul as well as the body. All right, the song is strictly spiritual, whereas if we study, all right, we get intellectual. We might be enthused, but it don't cause us to move. Song is motivating, not just inspirational. It's motivating. So the highest level of spiritual conscious you can have is when you decide to sing and praise, because it affects the thing that has no material desire, which is the soul, the neshama, the breath of life that comes from God, the Creator. So that's what music does. And some would say this is the invention of men that the angels do, not so much invention coming from the angels. And, you know, when it read in Isaiah said, and you know, they stood and said, you know, holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts, and all, you know, the whole earth is full of his glory. All right. They said to one another, not necessary that they sang to one another, though you got traditions say they sang, but I'm saying literally as we read it, you don't find that in the scripture. So then you know how powerful the song is. All right. And now the first thing it says in 22nd verse of that same chapter, the 15th chapter, just a little bit.
Verse 22 reads, and Moses led Israel onward from the Red Sea, and they went out into the wilderness of Shur, and they went 3 days in the wilderness and found no water.
All right, hold right there. All right, I just want to bring out a point. When I said earlier about they went to the sea and made a U-turn, Shur is still a frontier of Egypt. So when we look at the territory and the frontier of Egypt, that's still Egyptian frontier that they're in before they actually hit, you know, the real strong wilderness. That's like the borderline. So, you know, hence, you know, more trying to drive home a particular point about the scenic route, and why the scenic route sometimes may be the best route for us, you know, because now the first thing we do, we left from out of all that water, and yet there's no water to drink now. So that's you know something else to be, you know, think about. You know, 3 days, you know, went 3 days in the water and found no water. And when they came to Marah, you know, they could not drink of the waters of Marah, for they were bitter. All right. But we're gonna pick it up. And we know the Moses, you know, the Lord showed him a cry, you know, they cried unto the Lord, and the Lord showed him a tree, and he cast the, you know, the tree in the water, and he was able to drink it, you know. And then I like to pick it up from here where it says, there he made for them a statute and an ordinance, and there he proved them. And he said, if thou wilt diligently hearken to the voice of the Lord thy God, and will do all that which is right in his eyes, and will give ear to his commandments, and keep all his statutes, I will put none of the disease upon thee, which I have put upon the Egyptians, for I am the Lord that healeth thee. There you go. All right, thank you very much. And one of the areas is that after, you know, they suffered with bitter water, it was water, you know, when they found some water, it was bitter. And they said, now we're gonna make us a contract from this point on. All right, and this one of the early contracts that's being made with the nation of Israel. Other than the Pesach Seder, you know, and the memorial that's supposed to be done at that particular time, the observance of the Rosh Chodesh. All right, we don't even have the Shabbat as an order yet. All right, so next we know later on, we get to another spot, you know, and they said they found, you know, 12 springs and 70 palm trees later on. But we know that the Creator have tests for us. And you say, well, okay, why the test? Why the test for us? Because a lot of times the Creator know where we at, but we don't know where we at. We don't know what we're capable of. Sometimes we would say in our life, I can't take anymore. And the Creator turn it up. I know you better than you know yourself. You could take more than what you thought you could take. So a test is an opportunity to prove yourself to yourself. Because a person may measure your test scores, but they can never measure your potential. Only the Creator knows your potential. All right. So we know automatically right here. We talk about let me just go into the 16th chapter, and in the 16th chapter before you read, Chief. Let's pick it up from the 3rd verse. Oh, better yet, second verse. That's second verse.
Exodus chapter 16, verse 2. And the whole congregation of the children of Israel murmured against Moses and against Aaron in the wilderness. And the children of Israel said unto them, Would not that we had died by the hand of Jehovah in the land of Egypt, when we sat by the flesh pots, when we did eat bread to the full, for ye have brought us forth into this wilderness to kill this whole assembly with hunger.
All right, hold on right there. All right, two things. One thing I neglected from this with Miriam that I think I might want to bring out now. Well, which I will bring out now is that Miriam is called the sister of Aharon. We know she's the sister of Moses, but Moses' name is mentioned about then sang Moses this song, where then Miriam going to lead the women. But Aaron's not even mentioned in the program, and yet we know he was the spokesperson for Moshe. So hence, that's one of the views about why Aaron's name is just mentioned now as the sister, and Miriam is the sister of Aharon, to have his name mentioned, because nobody else is mentioned in this particular portion when we was reading in the 15th chapter. Now to get back to this point here, they said they believe in the Creator. And they fear and believe in God, and they believe that Moses was his servant. But the minute now, and the real irony is that they said they ate freely at the flesh pots of Egypt. When they sat by the flesh pot, they eating freely, and yet the Egyptian wouldn't even give them any straw to make brick. So if I'm not going to give you no straw to make brick, why should I let you eat just free? When I tell you, you got to make the same tally and get your own straw, why would I ease up at the dinner table for you? So, so when we look at that, you can see how people can exaggerate certain criteria, of a condition, and they make that area of Egypt seem better than where they're at now and where they're going. So, and yet we already talked about, certain things about commitment. And then we know, manna comes, and when manna comes, they get manna and quail, just to make speed this up a little bit, that they receive manna and quail. And when they receive the manna and the quail, they receive manna in the morning and quail in the evening. Some say the quail came every evening for the length of time, and some just say maybe only that period of time, which they had to have it for about a month or so. So that's up for whoever's listening, to come up with their viewpoint on it. Some say, it continued to get. We know the manna came every morning except for Shabbat for the 40 years. We had the exact date when manna started. Also, we got the exact date when the quail was dropped in. But we don't. We had the exact date when the manna stopped. We don't know about the quails. So I just, have people that might have different viewpoints on that area. Just something to consider a little bit as we, go through scriptures. So one of the things I love about the scriptures that we can always think, and it's a communal thing. you know, and I don't want to go ahead and next week, well, tomorrow Sidra, so to speak, but it's a communal thing. So we know we got manna, and we know that manna was dropped off every day for the children of Israel in the morning, except for Shabbat. And it was actually the men's job. And if you collected more or less, miraculously, you had the exact amount that the Creator said per man's eating and per household. So one of the things that people talk about in regards to the manna, and I'm gonna finish off right here. One of the things they talk about the manna is that one, we know that it wouldn't last, but you know, that one day. If you kept overnight, it would breed worms. Also, it miraculously lasted on the 6th day for Shabbat. Hence, you got a double portion. That's where so those people that set up a table with bread, that's where you get the 2 loaves for the challah bread from a double portion from this particular law here concerning the Shabbat. Also, you have with the Shabbat, you had the first rules governing a Shabbat that comes in. You know, boiling and baking, what you're supposed to do, you know, before the Shabbat come in. What is also I find rather remarkable, which is the manna. Since if I collected 5 omers for my household, because I think I got 5 people in there, you know, and then when I get back, I only got 4 omers, and I got 5 people in my house, then somebody in my house don't belong part of my family. That's not part of my family. At all. Or, and if you got more, and you had 5 people in your house, and you got 6 pots of Omer, 6 measures of Omer, then somebody in your household is missing. See, that's how deep, and that's one of the things that they could become disgusted with after the process of time. Because the manna was like a moral gauge for each household. Who actually belong in your house? Because it tell you clear, he that gathered more wind up with only an omer per person per household. He that gathered less had no lack. So therefore, it become a truth item in your household that comes directly from the Creator. Now, how you move on from that is a whole nother story. I just want to bring that out because the book makes it very specific about that. But sometimes we don't think about the truth serum. That's where, or the lie detector. Or they didn't have Maury, you know, DNA all the way. They didn't have all that kind of stuff. So this would be, you know, I mean, well, we're going to have a DNA test going on. The manna, you know, expose certain things.
Right.
Also, manna itself, when you have a good food product, your body uses everything. When you have a product that's not that good, then it's going to hold the good part of the product of the food and get rid of the other part that's no good.
Right.
Hence waste. So when manna, if they was eating manna, they, you know what I mean, and just had manna, say they didn't eat nothing else but the manna, because you could bake it, you know, boil it, you know, fry it, whatever you want to do, taste like we want to taste, and it's appealing to the eyes. You won't really have a bowel movement because it's completely absorbed in that area. You know, that's uniqueness of it, because when you have bowel movement, and so those things, you know, to be considered. If you got something coming from heaven, then it's every ounce or every molecule of that food that comes directly from heaven is being utilized 100% by the body. So we're getting the best of the best. All right, so I hope you got something out of what I said in reference to this particular Sidra, Beshalah, and any mistakes by my own, and again, like I said, any thumbs downs, please, explain to me that what became an issue that perhaps I'm able to correct it. And because like I said, I don't know everything, but I try to share as much as I can, and my job is to try to expound truthfully as much as possible according to my knowledge. All right, and with that, I wish everybody have a great Shabbat, and and Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom Lakah.